10,000 years ago, in the red sand valleys of Aramun, there rose a kingdom so radiant it was called the Empire of Suns. Its palaces shimmered with gold, its temples reached the sky, and its armies could crush mountains beneath their bronze sandals. But its glory did not rest on stone or steel, it rested on the fragile mind of its king. This is the tale of King Ares of Aramun, a man who began his reign as Ares the Radiant, beloved of the people, and ended as Ares. Ares was crowned at 12, too young to hold the weight of sons. His mother had died in childbirth, and his father, the warrior king Terran the Unbending, had fallen in battle against the desert tribes. So the boy king was raised not by loving hands, but by 4 regent lords, the Dukes of Flame, Sand, Iron, and River. They clothed him in silk, taught him words of law, but drained his coffers with endless feasts. They saw not a child of promise, but a vessel of power they could bleed dry. Yet Ares was no fool. He studied the scrolls of the temple, trained with the sword at dawn, and by 20 he seized back his crown. "I will rule with my own mind," he declared to the council. And the people rejoiced, for he was fair-faced, sharp-eyed, and spoke with the calm strength of a river before the flood. They called him Ares the Radiant. For a time hope returned. The streets sang his name. The empire breathed again, but destiny can turn with a single sound. It was the 5th year of his rule, a hot summer in the Forest of Knives, when the king led his army against rebels. The cicadas screamed, the shields gleamed, and the air shimmered with heat. Then a soldier's spear slipped, striking another's bronze helm with a clang. That sound cracked something deep inside Ares. His eyes rolled white, his lips foamed, and he shrieked, "Traitors! Assassins! They will break me!" He drew his blade and fell upon his own men. Brothers of war he had dined with days before now bled beneath his sword. Even his cousin, Lord Kale, barely escaped his strikes. It took 6 nights to subdue him. For 4 hours he raved, clawing, thrashing, eyes wild as if possessed by demons. When at last he awoke, he remembered nothing. He looked upon the wounded and whispered, "Why do you bleed? Who has done this?" The empire had seen its first glimpse of Ares the Shattered. The fits returned, each stranger than the last. Some days he forgot his own name, calling himself a farmer, a beggar, even a woman from the market. At other times he wept at shadows, claiming they whispered betrayals. But his most terrible delusion came 2 winters later. The king announced to his court, "My body is not of flesh, it is of crystal. Touch me and I shall shatter." From then on he forbade all from coming near. Courtiers were ordered to bow from afar. Servants padded the palace walls with wool. Chairs were cushioned like clouds. Ares himself wore robes lined with bronze rods. Convinced they would keep his limbs from breaking, he walked stiffly like a man in armor, eyes darting in terror at the brush of a sleeve. The once radiant king now lived as a glass figure, trembling at every step. When the king withdrew, power seeped into the hands of his wife, Queen Serenia of the North. Serenia was clever, sharp as a dagger, and as changeable as the desert wind. She claimed to rule in her husband's name, but all knew she played her own game. She allied with the House of River, then betrayed them to the House of Iron. She bartered with desert tribes, even whispered secret promises to the empire's enemies beyond the sea. Some saw her as savior, others as serpent, but all agreed she had no loyalty but to herself. Meanwhile, 2 factions split the realm. The House of Flame, led by Ares's brother, Lord Kale, who demanded war to keep Aramun strong. The House of Iron, led by Duke Varos, who courted foreign allies and sought to weaken the crown. Their struggle turned Aramun into a field of blood. Cities burned. Families were butchered. The empire rotted from within, and all the while the king cowered, convinced a breath might break him. Ares had 5 children. Yet during his madness he knew none of them. His daughter would run to him, arms outstretched. He would recoil, whispering, "Do not touch me. You will break me into shards." At times he asked, "Who are these strangers in my hall?" The children grew in fear of their father, their laughter silenced in the palace of glass. His youngest son, Prince Daran, barely remembered his father's voice without trembling. The court began to treat the king not as a ruler, but as a relic, something fragile, to be hidden, guarded, and endured. But where madness destroys, destiny sometimes plants seeds. From the ash of empire rose a girl named Lyra of the Vale, a shepherd's daughter. Barely 17, she claimed the gods had spoken to her. Save Aramun, crown the true heir, drive out the traitors. At first the nobles laughed, but the people, weary of blood and chaos, clung to her like a flame in darkness. Her voice was fire, her eyes shone with certainty, and soldiers followed her, believing she carried the will of the heavens. She marched to the south where Prince Daran hid in exile, and laid her hand upon him, and for the first time in years, the son of the shattered lord lifted his head. In the palace, Eris wasted away. His hair grew thin, his robes heavy with bronze rods, his eyes clouded by fear. Yet in rare moments of clarity, he wept. Once they called me radiant, he whispered to his old nurse. Now they call me shattered. Tell me, was I ever truly king? On his final night, the crystal delusion lifted. He summoned his son, Daran, and for the first time in years, he recognized him. You are my flesh, not my shard, he said, gripping his son's hand with trembling fingers. Take the crown I could not bear. Rule where I have broken. Then Eris of Aramun, once radiant, now shattered, closed his eyes and was gone. Lyra crowned Prince Daran in the Temple of Suns, declaring him chosen by gods and blood. Under their banner, the empire rose again. But the story of Eris the Shattered lived on, whispered for generations. It became a warning that no crown is unbreakable, no throne unshakable. A king may wield armies, gold, gods, but if his mind cracks, the empire cracks with him. And so the people of Aramun remembered. Power is fragile. Even the sun can shatter like glass.